a janitor, was forced by the wealthy to play the piano just for their amusement. But in that moment, he didn't get angry. He simply whispered a prayer to God. And then, what happened next made the entire hall rise to their feet in silence. The air inside the Thornfield Concert Hall was thick with the scent of aged mahogany and expensive perfume. Outside, the city light sparkled, but within, a different kind of light shone, the dazzling glow of the annual Thornfield Foundation Gala. This was the city's most anticipated event, a magnet for the powerful, the wealthy, and the artistic elite. In the quiet hour before the first limousine arrived, Marcus Chen, 38, moved through the grand auditorium. His olive-green janitor's uniform blended into the shadows, a stark contrast to the glittering chandeliers above. For 2 years, this uniform had been his armor, protecting him from the instability that claimed his wife and nearly shattered his life. He was a humble man, defined by his deep sense of responsibility to his daughter, Emma, now 6 years old. Marcus pushed his cleaning cart toward the center of the stage, where a magnificent Steinway Model D grand piano sat, polished, majestic, and utterly silent. He paused, the squeak of his mop bucket the only sound in the vast hall. His heart, usually stoic and focused on the day's tasks, ached with a familiar, bittersweet pang of nostalgia. 12 years ago, this world, the music, the stage, the expectation of greatness, had been his. He was a graduate of the New England Conservatory, a rising star, before fate intervened and demanded a life of stability over passion. He prayed silently, a simple, lifelong petition. Lord, grant me the strength to provide and the peace to shield my daughter. A simple life is all I ask. The silence was broken by the sharp tap of leather shoes. James Wellington, 52, CEO of Wellington Industries and chairman of the Thornfield Foundation, strode onto the stage, immaculate in a bespoke tuxedo. He radiated power and carried the inherent authority of a man accustomed to having his commands instantly fulfilled. Wellington surveyed the impeccable hall and then, spotting Marcus, smiled condescendingly. "Everything is spotless, Chen. Good work," Wellington said, his voice carrying the entitled amusement of a man making a joke only he found funny. He gestured toward the Steinway. "Do you ever play that thing, Chen? I wonder if we might have some hidden talent among our service staff." "Wouldn't that be a riot?" Marcus felt a flush creep up his neck. He kept his gaze down. "I know a few pieces, sir. Nothing professional, just a little." Wellington's eyes gleamed with a sudden, mischievous idea, an idea that crossed the line from light amusement to blatant class entertainment. "Just a little? Nonsense, man! We need a warm-up act, something quirky. The guests will adore it." He clapped his hands loudly. "Right, Chen, tonight you're giving us a private concert. A little something to show the attendees that everyone gets a chance at the Thornfield Gala, even the support staff." The first wave of black-tie guests was trickling in, drinks in hand, and they immediately turned their attention to the commotion on the stage. A nervous hush fell, quickly replaced by a few polite but patronizing chuckles. Cell phones were raised, ready to capture the hilarious moment. The janitor playing the piano. Humiliation was a physical blow. Marcus gripped the handle of his mop. "Mr. Wellington, with respect, I am scheduled for maintenance duty. I am here to work, sir, not to perform." Wellington waved a dismissive hand. "Nonsense! It's all in good fun. Don't be shy, Chen. Think of it as a bonus. Go on, give them something to talk about." Marcus stood, paralyzed. He was not just being asked to play, he was being paraded, a novelty, a prop used to provide a fleeting moment of class-based amusement for the elite. He saw the genuine, amused mockery in their eyes, and the last remnants of his forgotten pride flared. He realized that retreating would mean submitting completely to the role they had assigned him, a role defined solely by his uniform. Marcus pushed the cleaning cart aside. He took a deep breath, and once more his heart turned to prayer, not for peace, but for power. "Give me the confidence I have lost, Father. Let my music speak the truth they refuse to see." The silence was deafening as Marcus slowly walked toward the Steinway. He adjusted the stool, his olive-green uniform a jarring color against the pristine stage. His hands, calloused from scrubbing floors and hauling bins, hovered over the keys, hands that hadn't truly connected with a performance instrument in years. He closed his eyes, filtering out the whispers, the camera clicks, and the entitled laughter. He focused only on the music that had been dormant for so long. Then he began. He chose Frédéric Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, upon line number 2. The very first notes, pure, flawless, and deeply resonant, hit the hall like a sudden spiritual revelation. This was not the timid, fumbling effort of an amateur. This was the voice of a professional, a soul speaking through the instrument. The initial chuckles died instantly. The nervous coughs vanished. The sea of elegant guests who had come to be amused was suddenly held captive by a force they did not expect. Authentic, heart-wrenching artistry. The melody soared, refined and perfect, yet carrying a profound sorrow. Marcus wasn't just playing, he was remembering. He channeled the grief of losing his beloved wife, the heavy weight of sacrifice, and the haunting beauty of the life he'd willingly relinquished for his child. Every note was an untold chapter of his lost career, a sacrifice laid bare. He played with a delicate yet powerful touch, his technique flawless, his passion raw. Wellington, who had been leaning against the proscenium arch with a smirk, straightened abruptly. His jaw tightened. He realized with a jolt of genuine astonishment that the man in the janitor's uniform was a true artist, capable of bringing the wealthy and worldly audience to its knees. The joke had backfired. The comedy had become a testament. The audience was transfixed, their phones now lowered, forgotten. Marcus, lost in the music, saw only his daughter's face in the dark reflection of the polished piano lid. He played not for the crowd, but for his past, his present, and the quiet dignity he sought to reclaim. As the final, lingering chord faded into the hallowed acoustics of Thornfield Hall, an absolute, profound silence descended. It was a silence filled with awe, realization, and a touch of collective shame. Then the silence shattered. One, then two, then every single person in the massive hall rose simultaneously. The applause was thunderous, a genuine, heartfelt standing ovation that lasted for nearly 2 full minutes. The initial silence had been a tribute. The applause was a desperate collective plea for forgiveness and acknowledgement. Marcus remained seated for a moment, his chest heaving, the uniform now seeming like a badge of unexpected honor. James Wellington was the first to move. He walked slowly back onto the stage, no longer the arrogant CEO, but a humbled man trying to reconcile the worker he knew with the maestro he had just witnessed. He extended a hand to Marcus, a gesture of respect that felt entirely new. "Chen, he began, his voice thick with emotion. That was transcendent. I sincerely apologize for my crass suggestion. But tell me, where did you learn to play like that? No amateur could possess that depth. Marcus stood up, the heat from the applause still palpable. He looked directly into Wellington's eyes, a simple, unwavering gaze that held no malice. I graduated from the New England Conservatory, sir, 12 years ago. Marcus stated simply, I was a professional concert pianist. A wave of murmurs swept through the audience. Wellington stood utterly still. And why are you here? He asked, the question hanging heavily between them. Marcus looked out at the sea of faces, faces that now held curiosity and respect instead of amusement. He spoke with quiet dignity, letting his story stand as a testament to sacrifice. My wife passed away in a car accident 6 years ago, shortly after our daughter Emma was born. As a touring pianist, I was never home. When she left us, I had to choose. The music was a dream, but Emma was my reality. I needed stability, health insurance, and predictable hours. I needed a job where the greatest risk was a spill on the marble floor. Thornfield Concert Hall offered me that security. He paused, his voice softening. When you are raising a child alone on a janitor's salary, sir, the most important thing is keeping the job, not chasing the spotlight. A father's love is the quietest music, but the most profound. The impact of his words was immediate and devastating. The audience saw past the uniform to the man, a man who had traded his destiny for duty. Many openly wept, realizing their judgment had been so far from the truth. Wellington lowered his head, a profound realization dawning on him. He, the man of finance and power, had often measured people by their net worth. Now he was face to face with a man whose true worth was immeasurable. Marcus, Wellington said, using his first name, a sign of true respect. Please play one more piece, but this time play it for yourself and for your daughter. Marcus nodded, accepting the request as an honor, not a command. He returned to the piano, but this time the heavy weight of the performance was gone, replaced by pure devotion. He chose Johann Sebastian Bach's Air on the G string. The piece flowed out, a melody of sublime purity and warmth. It was the lullaby he had played for Emma countless times, a melody that spoke of hope and faith, a piece that could calm any storm. As the notes filled the hall, the atmosphere shifted from dramatic intensity to sacred intimacy. Marcus closed his eyes, seeing Emma in his mind, her small hands clutching a worn teddy bear, her patient wait for her father's return. This wasn't professional art. It was a father's offering. Wellington watched, tears clouding his vision. He thought of his own children, successful, independent, yet emotionally distant. He recognized the emptiness his own relentless pursuit of power had created. Marcus's sacrifice was a mirror, reflecting the true cost of chasing the wrong things. The music ended, leaving an echo of grace and profound stillness. Wellington walked to the microphone, his voice resonating with a new, sober authority. He no longer spoke as a host, but as a changed man. Ladies and gentlemen, we came here tonight to celebrate art and charity. And tonight, we have been profoundly blessed. We have found a true talent and, more importantly, a true soul among us. He turned to Marcus, his eyes shining. I tried to make a spectacle of this man, and he responded with dignity and genius. For that, I am eternally grateful, Marcus. Wellington then made a momentous declaration. The Thornfield Foundation, effective immediately, will establish a comprehensive scholarship and grant in the name of the Chen family. This fund is dedicated to ensuring Marcus Chen can return to the concert stage. It will cover all expenses, provide a secure salary equal to his concert fees, and allow him the necessary time for practice and performance. It is our duty and our privilege to support those whose sacrifice for love eclipses their ambition. The hall erupted in another powerful wave of applause, but Marcus only looked at Wellington, his face streaked with tears. "Sir, I cannot thank you enough," Marcus managed, his voice cracking. "But my daughter, I cannot trade the time I spend with her for an opportunity." Wellington smiled, a genuine warm smile that seemed to melt away his 50 years of arrogance. A father who places his child above his lifelong dream. That is precisely the man who deserves to be helped. We will ensure the schedule allows for both. A devoted father and the world-class artist you are. God has used your music tonight, Marcus, not just to move this crowd, but to restore a sense of purpose in me, too. The agreement was made, sealed not with a contract, but with the profound mutual understanding of two men, one who found his life's purpose in humility, the other who found his lost humanity in an act of grace. 6 months later, Marcus Chen stood on the same stage, bathed in the spotlight. He was performing a solo recital with the City Symphony Orchestra, and the hall was sold out. The familiar olive green uniform was gone, replaced by the immaculate symbolic tailcoat of a maestro. In the front row, a small girl with bright, loving eyes sat absolutely still. Emma Chen, 6 years old, watched her father shine. She had her crayons and coloring book, but tonight she had no need for them. Marcus played with confidence, but he carried a new depth. The applause at the end of the night was deafening, but the truest reward was the small, proud smile from the first row. He never forgot the lesson learned on the night of the gala. He kept a simple, faded photo in his dressing room, a picture Wellington had snapped. Marcus in his janitor uniform, hands poised over the Steinway keys. It was a constant reminder, true value is not found in a title or a bank account, but in love, responsibility, and the courage to live honestly. The story of the Thornfield janitor became an enduring legend in the city. The final word belonged to his daughter as she waited for her father backstage, clutching a handmade flower. "My dad is the best pianist in the world," Emma said to Wellington, who often visited them, "not because he plays on the big stage, but because he gave up everything to be with me and still found his way back to his dream."